You know, people often come up to me at parties or office gatherings and say, Bill, why are you so happy and jolly? I know you're drinking non-alcoholic beer. Well, the answer is simple. What I'm drinking probably tastes better than what they're drinking. And I know in the morning I won't have a hangover or worry about what I said the night before. There's lots of reasons not to drink alcohol. You could be a doctor getting ready for surgery. You could be a policeman going in front of the Internal Review Board. You could be nursing or pregnant. In fact, one of my friends is an electrician, and he doesn't drink because he said his off switch was broke. I thought that was pretty clever. Now, in the old days, if you wanted to not drink and you liked beer, there weren't very many choices. Today we have bunches of choices, and I've gone through and picked out 6 of my favorite beers to taste test. Just a little story of why I'm qualified to do taste testing. When I was going to school for electronics, I worked at a high-end liquor store. This liquor store stocked all the imported beer, every kind of beer imaginable, and they gave a 30% discount to employees. So every night after my shift, I'd taste test one of these beers, and I got to figure out what kind of beers I liked and what were the good ones. You know, some of those like Spaten, Paulaner Pils, Pilsner Kel. Some of the Italian Pilsners, Moretti, Peroni, those are good beers, and that's what I compare good beers to. Now, nerd alert, you might ask, how can they remove alcohol from the beer? Well, that's a good question. And if it's too geeky for you, go ahead and fast forward a segment or so, and that'll put you right at the taste test. There's a few ways to get rid of alcohol in the beer. You can add water, which doesn't make sense, you're just watering down the beer. You can also boil off the alcohol, but you have to heat up the beer, and you're going to ruin the beer. There's another technique called vacuum vapor distillation, and this one, you pull a vacuum on the beer so the beer can be fully brewed. You pull a vacuum on it, slowly boil the alcohol away. The alcohol will boil at a lower temperature under a vacuum. Another technique is to stop the process before the alcohol forms. This is tough and tricky with timing, but people do it. There are also special yeasts that don't produce alcohol, and you'll see some of these beers in the top 6 use that technique. Another way, and sometimes this is just enhancement and used with the other techniques, is you want to control the temperature so that you do not produce alcohol. There's also a process called simulated fermentation, and I have to look at my notes for this one. They add ingredients and enzymes to stimulate it, and they skip the fermentation process. I'm not really sure about that. I know there are also special yeasts that will not produce alcohol, and some of our top 6 use that technique. There's also a technique called reverse osmosis. This is where you take the liquid beer, push it through under pressure through a membrane, and remove the liquid, and then you add water back to what's left. That equipment is very expensive, by the way, so it's not used that often. So let's get down to the taste test. Our first candidate here, Becks, still brewed in Bremen, Germany. Now, I know a lot of the Becks beer with alcohol in it is brewed in the United States, and quite frankly, it seemed like it lost something in that transition overseas. So, one of the things I like to look for in a Pilsner is a nice, clear body of the beer. There's usually, in a good Pilsner, you usually don't have any sediment, and it's clear. That's a good tasting beer for no alcohol. There is a warning though. These green bottle beers do not filter out UV light as well as the brown bottle beers or the cans. So, if your green bottle beer or your beer in a glass is exposed to a lot of UV, you can get that skunky taste. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that, but it's the UV interacting with the hops and some other chemical reactions. It's a real thing. Becks is now packaging their non-alcoholic beer in a complete cover container, so that lessens this effect. Okay, we are up to Athletic Brewing Company. This is an American beer. It's a little cloudier than the other beers in the taste test, but it is a good, nice, easy drinking beer, similar to a lot of the American lagers and pilsners. This one, they use the maltose negative yeast strain to not allow the beer to ferment, and that keeps the alcohol below 0.5%. That brings us to Clausthaler. Clausthaler is a German beer. It's actually the first non-alcoholic beer that was made. And that is a good tasting beer. Green bottle warning though, it doesn't have the cover. So if your liquor store has fluorescent lights in the storage rooms, you may get the skunky taste out of it, but this is definitely a good beer. They actually have a patent on how they, the especially cultured yeast that they use to get the beer out of the, or get the alcohol out of the beer. Okay, it's not the beer talking. Okay, next up we got Trail Pass. Now this is from Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada makes some great beers, and their non-alcoholic golden beer is no exception. They also make a Trail Pass IPA. I haven't tried that one yet. That's a different video. Yes, indeed. Okay, now we move up to Untitled Art. This is a beer from Wisconsin. They, this is a very good beer. It's the only beer of the bunch that uses reverse osmosis as part of their alcohol removal process. They also use the yeast for the arrested fermentation, so it's a combination of things, and this produces a very good beer. They have a lot of different varieties. In a future taste test, I'll probably do some of those. Then we get to Weihenstephaner. This is brewed in the world's oldest brewery in Bremen, Germany. Sorry, it's Bavaria, Germany. This is a very good beer. So to wrap it up, all of these beers are great. You can see I went through a lot for this taste test, so I kind of had my ideas straightened out. I rank them, the Becks, then the Athletic Brewing, the Clausthaler, the Trail Pass Golden, Untitled Art, and the winner I'd say is this Weihenstephaner. couple other things. This is hard to find, but it's well worth it if you can find it. And truthfully, between these top two, top three, it's really a toss-up. And I'm not getting paid by any of these people or anything. This is just my straight thing because I love beer. I love Pilsner beer. But I don't miss the alcohol with these beers. Another thing about the Untitled Art Italian Pils, it is expensive. It's like 16 bucks a six-pack, and it's hard to find. Thank you. Please let me know your comments below, or any beers that I didn't try in this test that you think I should try. Thanks.